So at this stage in your life, like knowing what you know now, how do you process your service, your time deploying, and things like that?
When it comes to the military industrial complex,
That's right,
and all the stuff we just talked about, Dick Cheney,
Yes.
and all these other companies. I mean, look, we were there as a country for the wrong reasons. We went to Iraq, we destroyed it. We went to Afghanistan, we destroyed it. But we were there for the right reasons. And even with all the shit that the United States put us into that we probably shouldn't have been in, I mean, look at all the good things that happened because people like you and I were there. Women were able to vote. Women were able to get an education in these places where that was unheard of, never been heard of, in places like this. And I mean, there was a lot of women's rights that happened. There were a lot of bad people in both of those theaters that did get eliminated. And so we were able to give those people a glimpse of what life could look like if they fight for their freedom,
Yeah.
And once you taste that, you never forget it.
That's right.
And so that's how I process it, is we were there for the right reasons. Most of us were.
Yeah, as service members.
And a lot of good happened because we were there.
I agree with you 100%.
No credit to the U.S. government, though.
No.
So
No. This is a tough one. I struggle with this one right now. I have two sons that served as Marines. One served in Afghanistan, the other still in. And I get asked this question a lot. What would you tell a young man or woman right now that's thinking about joining the military, if they should or should not join because of our administration, because of the types of the things our government's involved in? Is the United States military still worth serving in?
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, we live here, so I'm going to be honest, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, but I'm very torn on that question or the answer to that question. And one, I would say it comes down to a couple things. Look around you and see what the military values are now. And if that aligns with you, then join. And if it doesn't, then maybe you shouldn't. If you do join and they don't align with you, well, then remember that when you get up there in the ranks, because what seems to happen to everybody is they get in and you get these lifers, officers, and they stay in there for 20 plus years and they start making policies, and the policies aren't made for the betterment of the unit, the betterment of the military, the betterment of national security. They're made for the betterment of what that person's going to do when they leave. Are they going to go work for Lockheed Martin and get a multi-million-dollar year salary? Are they going to get paid off by some lobbyist, some in D.C.? And that's where it all starts to change. And so when you do join, if you are going to stay in for life and you do start hitting those ranks, then keep that in mind when you get up there, because that's the only thing that is going to get this to turn around, is getting some leaders in there that have a spine.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm torn. I've talked to so many career military guys, particularly from the special operations community, that have sons, and they're advising their sons not to join. And it's I get it, but it's scary to me because I love our country, and we have to have a military service, right? We have to. You can't have a country without having a military to protect it. And
here's
so
the good news: we got a Second Amendment, right?
Yeah.
And so if anybody invades this country, guess what? We're all in the military now.
We're all in it. Yeah, we are.
But you don't have to join to go fight whoever is in office their war, so that they can get paid by the military-industrial complex companies to start a war. You know, this country is defendable. It would be one of the hardest countries in the world, maybe the hardest, because of the Second Amendment, to do a takeover.
Yeah. That's why they probably want to take it away from us.
So go buy a gun.
Yeah. Go buy Smith & Wesson. I think you probably can't say that.
Yeah, go buy a Smith & Wesson, 500 Magnum.
Yeah, yes, 500 Magnum. Why do you think young men and women are not wanting to join at the rate.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty simple, you know. I mean, who serves the military? Young, middle class to lower class, conservative families, kids join the military. That's who joins. And they're not catering to that. They're catering to the opposite, and they're shoving agendas down people's throats. But I think it has, you know, I mean, like the pride stuff. Like, I hate talking about the pride stuff, man. You know, like, I don't think anybody has problems with gays.
No,
anymore.
It's never been about that. No.
I don't think anybody has problems with lesbians. I don't think there are that many people out there that even have a problem with trans people. And I don't. But I do when you push that on me.
Right.
Like, I'm not about that. I don't care. I have friends, you know, that are gay. I have
or on
friends,
children.
Yeah, you know, but like why are we celebrating any sexuality? Like, that's private, and it's
Right.
private. You know, I'm not out there like, you don't see people out there celebrating like
Being
heterosexuals.
Straight. Yeah.
You know, like, you don't need to. It's private. Like, who cares? Why is this like? Why is this a thing that's painted everywhere? And like, so you're not respecting my personal space, and or anybody else's. Like, you're encroaching on personal space. Like, just leave it alone, man.
Yeah.
If you want to be gay, go be gay. If you want to be trans, go be trans. Like,
yeah. And when you force that and inject that in the military culture, it hurts morale and.
When you force it in any culture,
Sure,
it hurts morale. You know what I mean? And it's just leave people alone. Do your own thing, shut up, and drive on. But I think that's a big thing. Is like they're doing this massive propaganda push when it comes to the pride stuff. And I think another thing is we don't stand up for our own warfighters. I mean, how many? Just go up in the studio up there. Look at all these warfighters that the U.S. government's tried to crucify, throw in prison for life. Eddie Gallagher, Nick Slatton, Evan Liberty, Paul Slock, you know what I mean? Dustin Hurd. All those guys. Like, they tried to throw them in the clink. They did throw them in the clink. 3 of those guys had 35 years in prison. Nick Slatton was going to life, go in prison for life for shit that they didn't do. The government deleted the drone footage that proved their innocence, tried them 3 different times until they could finally get a guilty verdict, and threw them in the clink. And the same with Gallagher. You know, it's like, why are we crucifying our warfighters for killing? Like, Eddie was on trial for killing an ISIS fighter. Like, I'm sorry. What?
in war. Yeah.
What? What's the problem? Isn't that why did you send us there?
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that's a big one. I think that the jab was probably a big one.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just not what it was, man. It's looking a lot more like the Chinese Communist Party than it is the United States of America. I can tell you that. Would you agree?
I would agree. When you're forced to not do warfighter training, to do diversity and equity training and those types of things. Or
they're not worried about the mission. They're worried about the statement.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to say it. And it's I believe it's the result of our recruiting. And for me personally, I do believe it's a national security issue. I hope you're right with the. I hope that.
I'm probably not, and I'm not saying that's what I believe. It's just one thing that when I'm sitting at home at the end of the night, decompressing, thinking about all the shit that we covered on podcasts or whatever. Like, that's I don't just believe everything I see. I try to think big picture, and that's one thing that I do think warfare is evolving.
It is, yeah, it is.